Okay, hey Ross, tell people out there about your show Red River Gold. What's it about?
Folks, I'm not going to lie to you. Straight up, it's a treasure hunt searching for $2 million of lost gold, pure and simple. Michael, when I always do my little bit of research too, and I love how you connect with your audiences. The Chronicles of a Movie Fan just almost isn't enough of a statement. And that Lee Van Cleef, the image that you have
Yes.
on the show, there's a
Mhm.
lot of times you'll see this unnatural patience that I have, and my eyes will look a certain way. And I got it from those old-timey actors. Hold that gaze and that steely look and bring the audience in. The story behind what happened is in the late 1800s, the colonial government receiving money from the UK Mint was 400 ounces, which, based on the story, based on the value of gold now, is about $2 million. And it was being shipped across Canada, and the money was there to pay the soldiers to put down Louis Riel and the Red River Resistance. So I'm Métis, I'm Indigenous Canadian, and my job was to bring a team together to tell this story. And that gold, as far as the UK has said, it's still lost. And that's what gives me the strength, the hope, the desire, the passion. I want to find that gold. I'm not going to say I haven't, because there's 13 episodes coming your way May the 5th, 1930 Eastern Standard Time.
Oh, where? Where can they watch it?
You can watch it on APTN, and it'll be, I think, a weekly series. And you can also find it if you need to on APTN Lumi. But we're really encouraging people to go back to that feeling of when you're watching it on TV and you're sharing that experience as everybody's watching it at the same time.
Good stuff. Well, you're very passionate, man, and I really like that. Was it fun to be a host?
The first time the director, Saxon DeCock, he's a Métis award-winning director, he reached out to me and he said, I know we both have family histories in the Métis community. We're both trying to understand the roots and we're trying to figure out our journey amongst our community as well as ourselves. And he said, do you know a little bit about this story of the lost gold? And I said, I probably know just about as much as you. And he said, if I could get this funded, do you want to search for lost gold? I said, I'll have my bags packed to be ready to go in an hour. I I was so excited. Now we're almost 2.5 years later of having filmed, having put all the edits together, having continued extra work, narration. We want this product to ensure that it connects the stories of the community, has all the right imagery, and I get to wear the blackest at cowboy hats, and I carry a big buckskin knife on my back just in case something comes out of that Manitoba bush.
You're a character. I love it. Give people a little tease. Give people a fun piece of information that you learned while making this show.
So the Dawson Trail extended from the Lake of the Woods, which is just sort of northern Minnesota. You'd have to sneak through as you're going east. You get onto the Lake of the Woods and you'd scoot up just underneath Kenora, and you that's where the Dawson Trail started along the Harrison Creek. And that's where we have gone back to. We have moved from Winnipeg and moved all the way east, and then we've moved from Lake of the Woods and we've moved all the way west. And there's only so much space. But along the way, we start to learn a little bit more of the stories from the community. Originally, we thought there might have just been one person carrying the gold. Now, sometimes we wonder if there wasn't three of them. But not one piece of gold has ever shown up in the hands of any mint. That's why we could pretty much confirm that it's never been found. And a lot of people would say to me, well, they probably would have used it and melted it down. Not at those days. Back then, it was just gold. They would have been using it. And the mint would have known if one piece ever came back into circulation. So the fun part for us is everything we pull out of the ground often is just a great clue to what we've been looking for along the way.
Great. And I could see in the show, people in the community, they really know this tale. This is locally quite a thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, 100%. But that's not necessarily the case. A lot of them have said, well, my parents or family used to talk about the Dawson Trail. And they would actually, as some families, they would go out camping at certain times, and their father would just sort of mosey off and he was kind of looking around. They didn't always know what the story was about. But a lot of them have said, oh, yeah, we've known about that for a long time. And Now they realize the larger the circle of experts that they bring in, the greater likelihood that there is to finding the gold.
Ah, very nice, very nice. And who do you think? Who's the show for? Who's the prospective audience?
You know, our world hit a unique time recently, and we've journeyed, as a country, we've journeyed as a globe through some unique challenges the last 5, 10 years. But right now, we have a national story. This is a kind of pre-Canadian, but a Canadian story now. So I think the communities across Canada are going, how can we celebrate as Canadians? Well, this is one of them. How do we tell an Indigenous story? This is one of them. How do we tell a story about a guy who some people have said he's the Métis Indiana Jones? And I'm like, that's not necessarily the case because at some point you may see me fall out of a canoe. I don't think Indiana Jones is going to fall out of a canoe. But this is the time where we can look and go, how do we tell a fun Indigenous story and all share it together? That's why I think Canada's getting on board.
Yeah, it is fun. I liked it. It's a nice, easy watch. It's relaxing.
Yeah. Well, and there's so many other gold hunting shows, and I've paid attention to a few of them. And as a host, I wanted to really build the relationship amongst my team, and I wanted people to see our joys, our challenges, the where we're fraught with peril sometimes, the bog. I wanted them to see that we share fears as well. Where some of the other shows that I've seen out there, and they're celebrated, and I think they're doing great. Often they're just, hey, let's go see what we find. I am looking for gold, pure and simple. That is what's the difference. We have a true story that we are sharing.
I love it. And what were the hours like on the days you were shooting?
Well, it's just a little in between you and me here. I generally always get a nap in every day. The months that I was living in what I like to call Los Angeles of the North, Manitoba, the months that I was living there, it was black fly, tick, horsefly, mosquito, every type of the we were faced with perilous danger just because of that. But the time that I got to spend on set, I cannot believe how long the days were, and I never got a break. And it was kind of fun because here I thought I'm just a host telling a story. And at the end of season one, and I've been there now when it's plus 40, I've been there when it's minus 40, wearing my buckskin jacket, wearing my cowboy hat. And at one point, I thought, okay, we're going to be done for a little bit. I need a bit of a break. And I went up to the director and I said, boy, being a host is a lot of work. And he goes, you're more than just a host, right? I'm like, well, I don't know. I'm just kind of a guy here with my team. And he goes, you've been searching for lost gold for 3 months. You know what that makes you? A gold hunter. And I nearly fell over. I was laughing to myself, going, never really thought about it that way. I just thought I'm telling a good story. That's part of my job. That's the nature of it. And then I realized, you know what? I got to admit, you can't search for gold 24 hours a day, but when you're awake, you can search for it. And that's what the days were like.
Lovely, lovely. And do you think there's hope of getting that gold still?
To me, there's only so many spaces and places that it could be. The we knew what was available to people at the time when it came to transportation. So we also know we have a number of clues along the way of things that we're looking for. And new technologies are really changing how we can see the unforgiving nature of the devil's bog or the unforgiving nature of the caribou bog means in order to put boots on the ground, you've often got to be willing to get your feet very wet. And I often say, come hell or high water, I'll find that gold.
I believe you will. I think it's going to happen one of these days. Can you
Well, and I
tease
think the
me?
people who are watching are going to see a lot of what we're showing, and it's always the nature of cliffhanger, but that's sort of part of the joy of the experience.
I agree. Can you tease people a scene that you think is particularly good?
Boy, that is a wonderful question. There's a scene that I think it might come later because how this works is, we are working our way east in a lot of the cases, and we'll also eventually work our way west. But there's scenes of when we get up to as we're approaching the bog, and we are in areas that are deep and thick in water, in things that are going to entrap you, things that are going to pull you in. So we're using ATVs, we're using certain types of um, deep water bog equipment in order to try and get through there. And we are faced with a number of hurdles. And sometimes I have to look at the team and go, we either go on or we go back. We have to make the decision right now. Weather's changing. And when you see that experience, those are honest decisions that have to be made at that time. Because if we're stuck out there, we're stuck out there. And you will see that there are times I'm stuck out there.
Have you received a noteworthy compliment about this show?
It airs very shortly.
Right.
I've
Okay.
received,
Soon you will.
yeah, in fact, it airs, I think, in about 7 hours. So I
Oh,
know for your
geez.
audience at May the 5th, whenever you're watching this show or wherever
Yeah.
you're jumping onto it now, start watching the show on APTN. And the we've done a premiere, and everybody came and said, well, you think the way the story's going to unfold is going to be straightforward and quite simple. But they realize the experts that we're bringing into this experience really change the dynamic, and it changes it for me. But what's so actually crazy, Michael, is I don't always get to be in every experience because Lori Goldie Gagne, who's probably North America's absolute best metal detectorist, wrote the book on it, is the one who studies it, is the one who teaches me everything about it. Her partner Eric Danny, who's also an expert that we've brought along more on the show. What I've come to realize is that if I wasn't surrounded by these experts, it would be much harder for me to try and tell this story.
I love it. Ross, thank you so much for your time. It was lots of fun. What's next for you?
Well, right now, I actually travel internationally to talk about artificial intelligence. And
Oh,
as you watch the show, you'll see I make a lot of references to how I look at the ground environmentally and the how I'm trying to bring in conversations about the indigenous communities. And I'm trying to share the spirit. We need to all continue to move forward positively, but I'm a storyteller, but you are helping me bring those stories to life. And you're sharing it with an audience that I think when I first thought, who's going to watch this show? Then I saw audiences that on what they participate in, they want to see a character, they want to see a host, they want to see somebody who I think he's going to make it, but there's a chance they won't. And honestly, that's what happens in this journey. It's a challenge and it's the most fun I've ever had. I am living my best life right now.
well, I'm glad you are. That's great. And I'm glad I could be a little bit on the journey with you.
Again, it's you're a storyteller yourself. You're
It,
the one who's putting this in front of an audience that I think knows that you're looking at this in a positive way. And when you see my steely eyes on there, I hope you think John Wayne, maybe a little bit of Clint Eastwood.
Heck yes, I love it. Yep, and I'm going to tell people it's fun. It's an enjoyable watch. We all work jobs and go through things to come back and watch something relaxing and enjoyable and interesting and historically revelatory. It's a good time.
And share it with your family, folks. And as crazy as this sounds, again, I'd sort of mentioned there, Michael, that I've seen a lot of it. I'm rooting for me. I watch this and I go, that guy, just how it gets sometimes put together. That's the nature of television as well. I'm rooting for me. So I hope you all are as well.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time.
And I'm never hard to reach, folks. Make sure you look up redrivergold.ca. If you want to know more about me, Ross Pambrun with an N.ca. Thanks.
Okay, deal. Hopefully, someone hits you up there.
Thank you, Mystic and Severe. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for all your listeners out there.
All right, my pleasure.